If you clicked on this video, you are most likely a people pleaser. If you're the type of person who finds yourself putting everybody else's needs before your own, or if you are scared of conflict and disagreement, or if you're constantly seeking validation and you're a yes man, you're probably a people pleaser. And don't even worry, because I used to be one too, and now I'm sitting here giving tips on how not to be one. So it's always possible to reverse those bad habits, and in today's video that's exactly what I'm going to talk about, so I hope you really enjoy. First things first, why is being a people pleaser a bad thing? You might be thinking, oh, I'm so nice, everyone loves me, I'm easygoing. That is quote unquote the one trait that everyone used to describe me as. Oh my god, Lily's so easygoing. That is not a compliment. That is literally not a compliment. Someone calling you easygoing just means you literally go with the flow. You're a worm and you have no backbone and you go wherever the wind blows you. That's exactly what easygoing means. You don't want to be described as easygoing. As a people pleaser, you pretty much have a flashing light on your head that's saying, hey, take advantage of me, take advantage of me. You want something done? I'll do it. Oh, you're like a little puppy. I'll do anything for you. When you're being a people pleaser and you think you're being super nice and you're helping everyone out and you're jumping through hoops and breaking your back to go help other people, what you're doing is helping someone else advance at your own cost. Now, I don't believe that nice guys finish last, but in this scenario, nice guys do finish last. I'm going to start off with a personal example just so you know that I'm not sitting here just talking about stuff and you know that I've actually been through this myself. This was like the height of my people pleasing when I really realized, okay, this needs to stop. Like, I never realized I had a problem until the story I'm about to tell you. So, when I was in university, I had a part-time job at a clothing store and I was hired as a part-time employee, but they were giving me full-time hours. Now, there's a very big difference between being a full-time employee and being a part-time employee. Full-time employees get lots of different benefits, for starters, and part-time employees often don't get those benefits. If you think about it, they were literally getting a bargain with me. And I'm sure you can gather, I was exhausted every day. I hated my life. I was getting absolutely terrible grades to the point where I was handing in things literally months later. I had to drop out of classes because I just literally had not handed anything in. If I stayed in those classes, I was gonna fail them. Some of them I even did a late dropout, which means it's still on my record to this day. Not only did I sacrifice my grades and my career and my literal future for a job where I was pretty much making minimum wage, I also sacrificed my mental health. I was crying every day. I absolutely hated my life. I was almost depressed. Like, I hated going to work. I hated going to school. I was constantly tired. They were literally taking full advantage of me, and I didn't say anything because I was scared of conflict. I didn't want anyone to not like me. I didn't want to start any disagreements. I didn't want to be a problem. But this is the thing. Why would I be a problem? I would be justified in speaking out for myself. And if you want to know how this literally ruined my life, this is years ago, mind you. I decided to change my career, and I wanted to pursue even further post-secondary education. And when I started to apply to schools, they were rejecting me left and right because I had this space in my resume, in my transcript, where I was literally getting terrible grades. And mind you, that was in my last year. Like, last year is when it matters the most. What did I gain out of that? Did I get a promotion to be the manager? No. Did I get $1 billion? No. Did I get a certificate? Did I get Employee of the Month? No. I got none of those things. So what was I doing that for? I don't want you to be like that. I don't want you to be like me. That was a tipping point for me because my mental health had gotten so bad to the point where I was like, why do I feel like this? And I took a step back and I said, oh my god, I'm doing all these things for other people at my own expense. Now that you have a little bit of a personal experience, maybe you can find something relatable in your life. Maybe that might have made it easier to identify areas in your life where you are also people pleasing. So now I'm going to tell you about all the things that I did and you should also do to stop being a people pleaser. As a people pleaser, you're not really going to notice when you're going above and beyond because you're so used to doing these things. You think you're just being helpful. You're not really ever going to notice that you're bending over backwards because you're just so used to it. It's like habit at this point. From this moment forward, whenever someone asks you to do something, I want you to always start by saying, okay, let me get back to you on that. It doesn't matter whether someone asks you to pick up the pen on the floor, whether someone asks you to run a triathlon. I don't care how small or how big the ask is. I want you to always start off by saying, okay, let me think about that. This is going to give you time to actually reflect on, okay, what do I have to do to accomplish what this person's asking me for? What do I maybe have to sacrifice in order to do what this person's asking me for? How am I going to feel if I do what this person is asking for? Am I going to be able to balance it well within my life? Or is it going to make me feel bitter and resentful? Or is it going to make me have to stay up an extra 5 hours after my bedtime? Or is it going to make me have to go out of my way to go and do something? So just let that person know that's a completely valid thing to say, okay, let me get back to you on that. No one's going to get mad at you for saying that. You don't owe anyone anything. If someone asks you, hey, can you pick up my shift this Friday? Let me get back to you on that. Hey, can you go and pick this up for me from the store on your way back? Let me get back to you on that. Do you want to go to this concert with me this weekend? Let me get back to you on that. It's as simple as that. Next, you want to learn to start saying no. For me, this was the hardest part because I feel like no was not even in my vocabulary. I feel like up until I was working that job and I had that tipping point, I literally had probably never said no in my life. Like, I was such a yes man. And for me to say no, I just felt bad. Like, I was like, I don't want to, like, I feel so bad. Like, how are they going to survive? How are they going to cope? But you need to start asking yourself, how are you going to cope? That person is asking you for a favor, something that they can probably do themselves, but it's inconvenient for them to do it, so they're asking for you to do it. It's almost like you're a maid. But once they realize you have a pattern of bending over backwards for them, they're going to start to take advantage. Humans are naturally selfish. That's just what they're going to do, whether you think very highly of the person or not. If they think, oh my god, you know, she's been picking up my shifts for the last 5 weeks, who's the first person that they're going to ask to pick up their shift when they need it picked up again? You. Who's the first person they're going to ask to bend over backwards because you've been doing it? There are many different ways to say no, and I want you to actually, as silly as it sounds, practice different ways of saying no over and over. Say them in the mirror. Come up with different scenarios and different ways of saying no, in case you might be like myself and you're thinking, oh my god, that's so mean, I don't want to say no. No, you have to say no. Saying no to other people is literally saying yes to yourself. You're choosing yourself. You're putting yourself on a pedestal. You're practicing self-respect. If you are deep in people-pleasing like myself, you might need to start small and just start with a compromise. If someone asks you to pick up their shift, maybe say, hey, I can't pick it up, but I can switch this with you if that makes it easier. Or, hey, I can't pick it up, but maybe if you can find someone else to do 4 hours out of your 8-hour shift, I can do the other 4 hours. You might have to start by compromising, especially if you are so bad at people-pleasing to the point where you literally cannot utter the words N-O. You could say, you know, I really appreciate the fact that you brought this to me because it shows that you trust me, but unfortunately, I have this and this and this to do. It might help you to literally explain yourself. I'm so sorry, I can't do that for you because I have 2 tests this weekend and I really need to study for those. I can ask somebody else to help you with this. I can try and help you find someone else to cover your shift. I can ask around and see if someone else can give you their notes. Those are some examples. So find different ways to say no so that you always have a backup plan. Leading into my next point, when you're easygoing, when you're a yes man, you have no self-respect, you have no self-identity, you're just literally blowing wherever the wind goes. And that is a terrible thing to be because what is the saying? An enemy to no one is a friend to no one. Self-confidence is huge because part of the reason why you're people-pleasing is because you're seeking validation. You don't want any disapproval. You want everyone to like you. Newsflash, not everyone is going to like you. And this is a very hard pill to swallow. And I know it's crazy. Coming from an Aries, I was like, why would not everyone like me? Like, what is there not to like? Not everyone is going to like you. That's just a fact of life. And the sooner you come to realize that, the better your life is going to be because you won't be people-pleasing. You won't be jumping over hoops for people to like you. And as a side note, why do you have to jump through hoops for people to like you? People shouldn't be liking you because of the things you're doing for them. That's narcissistic behavior. People should be liking you because of who you are as a person. This is almost like the hardest part in my opinion because growing confidence is not just something that happens overnight. I actually have a video on how to get confident fast, so I would definitely recommend to watch that. If you were confident, you wouldn't care if someone didn't like you or not. If you were confident, you wouldn't care if you had a disagreement with someone or not because at the end of the day, you know who you are, you know what you stand for, and you're confident in that, and you stand on that, and you stand on business. Next, you want to identify your boundaries and stick to them. AKA, you want to stand on business. You need to stand on that business with heavy shoes and stick to the script. If you have a boundary where you have like maybe a curfew or something and someone's saying, come on, it's going to be so much fun. And you're like, you know what, fine, whatever. You literally just broke your boundary. You were not standing on business. If you have a curfew because you know you need to study, or maybe you have a curfew because you know you want to go to the gym in the morning and get a good workout in, you need to stick to that. You need to tell that person, hey, for the next whatever time, even for the foreseeable future, I'm going to be working out in the morning. So don't ask me to go out late at night because you know I'm going to be doing that. Stick to your boundaries. You're going to want to sit down and come up with a list of boundaries for yourself, for your loved ones, for your colleagues, so that you know in every situation, okay, if this comes up, this is my boundary. When you have a plan in place, you're less likely to be frazzled, you're less likely to be surprised, caught by surprise, you're less likely to be a yes man, you're less likely to feel bad for saying no, because you already have these boundaries that you know have identified and that you're setting in stone. Let's say I'm a part-time worker and I work 3 shifts a week, and I know that's the maximum amount of shifts that I can work without feeling overwhelmed, without compromising my mental health, without compromising my schoolwork, without compromising my outside relationships, yada yada. If I know I can only work a maximum of 3 shifts, and I already have 3 shifts this week, and somebody asks me to pick up their shift, I already know I'm gonna say no, because I've set that boundary. If you feel uncomfortable with immediately saying no, like I said, let them know, okay, I'll think about it, let me get back to you and I'll let you know what my decision is. And when you feel more comfortable, when you've gained the confidence to go back to that person and say, actually, unfortunately, I already have 3 shifts this week, and if I pick up another one, I know that it's going to make this week 10 times harder for me. So unfortunately, I can't pick it up for you, but I hope you find someone else, or I can help you try and find someone else to pick up that shift for you. You see how you've set the boundary, so it's so much easier to say no in that situation. If you didn't have that boundary, you might be like, you know, maybe I could do it. Actually, I could probably squeeze it in. It won't be the end of the world if I do this. You'll be coming up with ways to rationalize you helping someone else at your expense. But if you have that boundary set in place, you already know, okay, it's a no. It's like an equation. Last but not least, you want to start putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. What this is going to do is it's going to make it easier for you to A, start saying no, and it's also going to help build your confidence. It's like a 2-in-1 tip. This is a 2-for-1 deal. Personally, I always used to find it embarrassing to do things by myself. I don't know why, I was just so uncomfortable with doing it. I always needed a sidekick. Like, I just couldn't do anything by myself. As simple as going to the grocery store that's right next to my house, like I could not do that by myself. And so what did I start doing? I started putting myself in uncomfortable situations in order to get over this fear. So I started doing things that I really liked doing, but doing them on my own. And at first it was really hard. Like, I remember the first time I went to the movie theater by myself, and I was like, oh my god, like, this is so embarrassing. Everyone's looking at me, like, everyone thinks I'm a loser. Like, ew, you're going to the movies by yourself. First of all, you must think you're Queen Elizabeth if you think the whole world revolves around you and everybody's looking at you and thinking these things about you. Like, nobody is thinking these things. I went to the movie theater by myself, and look, I'm still standing. I'm still breathing. Nothing happened. No one said anything to me. No one was thinking anything. Like, it was completely fine. Everyone was focused on the movie. What was the big deal in that? I started doing lots of things by myself. So I started going to the mall by myself. Another thing I did was I went out to eat by myself, and I was sitting by myself. I was fine. Like, all of these, like, there was all these things that I thought, like, literally I was going to be laughed at. I was going to be on the news and ridiculed for sitting by myself at the restaurant. None of those things happened. It was all in my own head. And once you put yourself in these uncomfortable situations, first of all, you're going to gain your self-confidence, because you're going to realize literally actually no one cares. Nobody cares. It's not that deep. Everybody's not thinking about you. Everyone's living their own life. Everyone has their own problems. And you're the only one who thinks that everyone's thinking about you. That's your ego talking. And that's your ego putting self-doubt and embarrassment and just bad thoughts in your head. Second of all, when I put myself in these uncomfortable situations, it was a lot easier for me to say no, because saying no for me was an uncomfortable situation in itself. So now that I know, okay, I've put myself through all those uncomfortable situations in all these past times, in all those different scenarios, and I'm still standing, I'm still fine, I know, hey, you know, it might be uncomfortable for me to say no here, but I'm going to be completely fine. So we've reached the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope this helped you in any way. If it did, or if you have any suggestions for me, please definitely leave a comment down below, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!